Hello from Sonoma County. So you're thinking about moving to Santa Rosa. So exciting, but hold on. We want to be really honest and tell you that it's not all sunshine and rainbows and vineyards and drinking wine on a patio. There are some very true things that you should probably consider before you make this move. You really need to know the negatives before you move into a new area, you make that decision, you settle down, and then ultimately find out it's not the right fit for you. That would absolutely be the worst, to move into a new area, settle in, and then realize that it's not the right fit. Maybe the people are not your vibe, you need more culture, you need more amenities, something along those lines. So we're gonna go over all these different topics today of why Santa Rosa might not be the right fit for you. It's gonna be honest, it's gonna be truthful. We've lived in Sonoma County and Santa Rosa for years, so we're gonna give you the pretty upfront truth about what's going on in Santa Rosa and why it might not be the fit. But before we get into that, I'm Morgan. We're with Sullivan Group Real Estate here in Sonoma County, and we help people move into, out of, and all around Sonoma County every year. So if you're thinking of making this move, you're making the plans, you're in process of researching this, absolutely reach out. We would love to help. My information is here on the screen as well as in the caption below. You can click some links, set up a meeting or a Zoom with us, and we can talk through a few more of these insights and maybe put some plans in place for your upcoming move in the next 30, 60, 90 days. We're here to help. Until then, go ahead and hit subscribe, tap the like button, and of course hit the bell so you can be notified when we release more helpful information about all things Sonoma County. Let's do this. Okay, so we're gonna dive in to the 15 main reasons Santa Rosa might not be the right fit for you when you're relocating. You're gonna wanna hang around because they get a little nitty-gritty and they're details that you need to be aware of before you make this really big move. So without further ado, let's dive in. First and foremost, let's just call it like it is. Santa Rosa is the big city of Sonoma County. It's actually the biggest city north of San Francisco and really is population to about 180,000 people. It is because it's very highly populated. There's always a lot going on. You're gonna have, more hustle and bustle. There's a lot of different shopping centers. There's quite a different vibe as you move from one area from the city to the other. And you have to kind of be aware that you're not gonna be in that tiny little community feel if you're used to a small town vibe. A big city is different. While we'll get to this a little bit later, we do have a pretty safe feel. It is not the tiny town that you might be used to, and you have to be aware that it's going to be a little noisier, a little busier, and have a lot more going on a regular basis. That part leads me to point number 2, which is traffic. Traffic in Santa Rosa can be a little bit of a pain, to be really honest, especially in those morning commute hours and the late afternoon, evening commute hours as well. Santa Rosa is still in a good commute distance to San Francisco. It's about an hour to San Francisco, just over an hour to Oakland. So a lot of people are headed down 101 in the morning and then of course back up 101 in the evening on their way home, and that really bogs down the 101. The 101 is the main highway that goes through Santa Rosa and takes you, north and south from the entire county, and because it's the main thoroughway, it gets bogged down pretty easily. In addition to that, you're also going to have quite a bit of traffic around school time, around schools. There's a lot of people moving around because there's just a lot of people in the city. Blessing and a curse because we have a lot of amenities and we have a lot of people. But plan ahead for traffic. If you're not used to having a commute or having to factor in traffic to your daily schedule, that will be a change here in Sonoma County. One other thing is weather. If you're used to a humid climate or you enjoy those snowy winter months, you're not gonna get that here, at all. Sonoma County has a really mild weather. We are very California weather. We're not quite like SoCal because we do have a cooler coastal breeze, but we still have very mild weather. So what we mean by that is on average, Sonoma County has 250 days a year that are fully sunny. That's pretty good, right? So in addition to that, in the winter, we have, lows that kind of drop into the 30s, and then, it's 55 to 60 on your winter afternoon, 60 degrees. And then in the summertime, the heat does peak up. It's a little bit warmer in Santa Rosa than some of the other surrounding cities because it doesn't get quite as much as of that coastal breeze. So the summer afternoons are definitely going to get up into like the high 80s, 90s. We do have a couple, heat waves of, 100 or just over, and they come and go throughout the summer, but for the most part, you're going to be like 80s to 90. And then the winter evenings do typically cool down into the 50s, maybe 60 because of that kind of coastal breeze, and it cools things down and pushes the hot air out. So a lot of times we always say just summer months, it may get hot in the house, but open up the windows at night, let that cool air in, and then you start the next day with fresh air in the house and a nice and cool home. Number 4 here, we have a very diverse population here in Santa Rosa. So if you're looking for a community that's kind of niched in one section of the population, maybe you're looking for a senior community specifically, most of Santa Rosa is not going to offer that. Or you're looking for a super friendly only city because you're moving here with kids, that's going to be kind of hard to find. Of course, there's pockets for each of these pieces, but overall, the entire population of Santa Rosa really accommodates everyone. There's college students, young families, young couples, older individuals. There's a big LGBTQ plus population, and then all of the different demographics as far as ethnic backgrounds are, for the most part, represented here in Santa Rosa. So it can be a plus, but if you're looking for a certain type of specific neighborhood with a more limited demographic, I guess reach out and we can talk about a different city or a specific neighborhood within Santa Rosa that could be a better fit for you. And with that, let's flip over to number 5, being a very family-friendly community. Santa Rosa is actually ranked as the 37th most family-friendly city to raise a family in across the entire United States, and even better, was ranked as number 6 as the 6th safest city in the US. Can't really ask for much more than that, and even if you aren't raising a family, those are all good things to have in your community to feel comfortable and connected to your neighbors and your neighborhood, right? But if you aren't looking for a family-friendly neighborhood, you aren't looking for a family-friendly community, you don't want to deal with kiddos, maybe you've raised your kids and you've moved on, we're probably going to want to look a little bit closer at a few specific neighborhoods within Santa Rosa that are 55 and over, or maybe look at some areas outside of Santa Rosa. Next up, so many good restaurants. I'm not kidding. Santa Rosa has some of the best food. We are so blessed here, but it can be a problem to your budget, to your waistline, to your activity level, and across the board. It does get very difficult because you want to go out, you want to enjoy these really amazing, farm to table foods. We have Michelin rated restaurants. There's restaurants in every corner of Santa Rosa that, regularly win awards, and it does get difficult that if you are on a limited budget, you probably won't be able to eat out as much, or if you're really into fitness, it is hard to, eat out but be able to balance your more fit and active lifestyle. So be aware that eating out is kind of part of the culture here in Sonoma County, and if that's what you're into, Santa Rosa could be a really great option for you. But if that's not something that you think you're going to be accustomed to or want to get into, maybe we'll look in another direction. That leads very easily into the next topic, which is the cost of living. Santa Rosa is 49% more expensive than the national average. Of course, the income does equate somewhat to that as well, with the median income in Santa Rosa being just under $95,000 a year. So it does help kind of offset some of those costs, but your gas is going to be more expensive than a lot of other states. The cost of milk and eggs is going to be more expensive, and then I'm sure you certainly understand that the cost of California housing is much more expensive than most other states across the United States. So it is something to think about and to really look at your budget of when you move out here, what are you going to be doing for a living? Are you on a limited budget because you're retired? how can we make that money work for you to make, you know, the best option possible to live this Sonoma County, Santa Rosa lifestyle, but the cost of living may change your lifestyle a bit once you move out here. So things to be aware of, and we can answer more questions, you know, depending on your specific scenario as well. Of course, let's just talk more specifically about the housing costs themselves. The average home, single family home here in Sonoma County is at least about $750,000. We have a variety of different properties, but to get your foot in the door, you know, 5 to 20% down on average, you know, that's $100,000+ that a lot of people don't necessarily have the option to come up with. And then rental cost is pretty close to what those mortgage payments are looking like as well. We do have condos, we do have townhouses, we have, you know, smaller single family homes that are a little bit lower than that, and of course plenty of luxury and high-end properties that are much higher than the $750,000 mark. But if you're used to a pretty low housing cost, you're probably not going to find that here in Sonoma County. So things to be aware of. That goes again, of course, into the cost of living, but the cost of housing is something to think about. However, once you get your foot in the door for owning your own home here in Sonoma County, and especially in Santa Rosa, it's so desirable because of a lot of these reasons that are also negatives for some. You're gonna have like higher appreciation, you're gonna build equity faster, and then you can move into your next home. So we always say that if you do make the move to Santa Rosa, you may not be buying your dream home first time out the gate, but by the time you move into your second or maybe third home, it will be somewhere that you're like, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I'm staying here for a really long time. And we hope that happens, and we hope to be helpful with that. Next is California has pretty high taxes. The average income tax is 9.3%, and that's for income around $50,000 a year to $250,000 a year. Those are rough numbers, but just to kind of give you an idea, that is a lot to kind of account in that you will not be taking home out of your paycheck or your salary. Of course, there's also property taxes and sales tax here in the state of California, so those are to be factored in as part of that cost of living as well. Santa Rosa is definitely a location that, because it's so big, you are pretty dependent on a car. If you're used to living somewhere that you walked everywhere, you biked everywhere, it is possible here, but you're gonna be a little bit more restricted. So to get across town in Santa Rosa, it's miles and highways, and it's definitely a bit easier to live with the access to a vehicle, and especially if you're commuting from Santa Rosa outside of Santa Rosa, a vehicle is, you know, gonna make everything a bit easier. There are a few other options. There's public transportation like buses. We do have the SMART train, things like that. But, you know, out of convenience, having a car in Santa Rosa is definitely gonna be the most ideal living situation. The next one is kind of rough to talk about because, you know, you can feel both sides, but there is a growing homeless population here in Santa Rosa. You'll drive through some of the downtown areas, under the freeway overpasses, and there are some encampments that have been growing over the last 2 or 3 years, partially because California has such nice weather that it's, I guess you could say, easier to be homeless when it's not snowing or awful humid or something along those lines, but also the availability of resources during COVID. We did have some more resources than some of the surrounding areas, so that homeless population came to Santa Rosa. The city of Santa Rosa does have a 5-year plan between 2023 and 2027 to have more housing, more resources, and kind of take care of that homeless population. But if that's something that is a turnoff in the area that you are moving to, it's going to be a little while before that's taken care of. It's a tough situation to be in, and I feel for the folks that are on the streets, but I totally understand that when you're making a big move to an expensive location, you may not want to have to be surrounded with that. Next, the more fun piece to talk about is the wineries and the breweries right here in town. Sonoma County as a whole has 425 wineries just in Sonoma County. And I don't know how many breweries off the top of my head, I'm gonna be very honest, but there's dozens in Santa Rosa proper. So it's kind of, again, part of our lifestyle, going back to like the restaurant piece. We love to eat and drink around here. We love to enjoy with friends. We love to go out with family. We love to celebrate. And a lot of that is the culture of Santa Rosa and Sonoma County. So if maybe you are sober or you don't drink, that will maybe affect how you kind of incorporate this winery brewery lifestyle as a regular outing in Santa Rosa. And then you'll also kind of have to think about on the weekends where they have like wine tasting and these brewery tours to maybe keep away from those areas for traffic reasons. Santa Rosa has a bustling downtown, which for some could be a good thing. For some, it's a little too crazy and a little too hectic with constant events going on. They have concerts and shows and community events. They have Christmas tree lightings. They host like Ironman marathons based out of the downtown Santa Rosa area. So there's gonna be certain times throughout the year where the downtown area is blocked off. There's gonna be major traffic. There's gonna be loud music and events, and it's gonna draw crowds from outside of Santa Rosa and outside of Sonoma County, so it's going to be extra populated on those weekends, which again, for some, you may really love that and you're like, cool, this is exciting, it's something different to go do. And for others, you're like, why are you here? You're in my way. We get it. We totally get it. It's both a pro and a con of Santa Rosa downtown all at the same time. But whether it's those busy weekends or some of the more quiet weekends, downtown Santa Rosa has a ton of shops, restaurants, bars, breweries, wine rooms, the grassy green area to like hang out and have a picnic. And it is a fun area, but just know that because it's a fun area, it does get pretty populated over, certain weekends, especially during those summer months. With some of these topics that I've already talked about, I also want to note that Santa Rosa is absolutely a tourist destination. So while we enjoy a lot of our local places, many people travel from around the country and around the world to come check out a lot of the areas here in Santa Rosa. We have Michelin rated restaurants. We've been voted the #1 foodie location in all of the US. We've been voted the #10 most fun city in the US. So there's no doubt that of course people are gonna wanna come check it out. They're gonna wanna see all there is to do here in Santa Rosa, but it's going to add to traffic. It's gonna be hard to get dinner reservations sometimes. You're gonna have to plan ahead. And so just be kind of aware of that. The tourism does, of course, fund the city. That allows to keep the city nice and beautiful and clean and aid different projects and things like that. So there is a benefit from the tourism, but the tourists are gonna bog down our highways. They're gonna take your dinner reservations, and they're just gonna be alongside of us on the streets and whatnot. And then the last piece, number 15, you can't talk about Santa Rosa without acknowledging the wildfires. Yes, we did have wildfires over the last 5, almost 6 years throughout, this northern California area. Well, all of California, let's be really honest. And it is a fact. Fortunately, we think from what the fire marshals and the fire upper people are saying is because we've had so many fires over the last 5 to 6 years, we shouldn't see that much fire actually coming into Santa Rosa anymore. If you're researching Santa Rosa for your move, you've probably come across an article about the 2017 Tubbs fire, and you may have seen the glass fire. That was the following year, I believe, that rolled through Napa and parts of Sonoma County. And it was unfortunate, it was a freak disaster, but with our climate, we do have pretty dry weather. There was dry lightning, there was heavy winds, and we've had some drought years in recent past that pretty much all kind of made the perfect recipe for these wildfires. They've been doing a lot more cleanup around our area. We've been rebuilding after the Tubbs fire, where we lost, over 5,000 structures. I think we're about like 95% rebuilt. So the city's really come back together, and it was actually tragic, but kind of a bonding experience for most of the Santa Rosa and surrounding community to rise again, if you will. And so it's something to think about, it's something to know about, even if there aren't fires here in Santa Rosa. Sometimes with, those summer months, a lot of times I think it's June through October, if not November, are those high-risk fire months. And even if the fires aren't here in Santa Rosa proper, we may have neighboring fires in Napa County, Lake County, Mendocino, and you'll get that smoke, you'll have lower, poor air quality for a couple weeks, something along those lines, and it is something to be aware of. As far as we understand, we should be getting better moving forward, but who's to say, and it is something to be aware of. So there you have it, 15 reasons that maybe Santa Rosa is not the best place for you. There's a lot of surrounding areas here in Sonoma County that might be a little quieter, might be, a different vibe for you, may offer more of a cultural experience that you're looking for, or maybe you're just not really into a big city altogether. That's okay. But a lot of these reasons are also perfect reasons why people do move to Santa Rosa and do find the perfect neighborhood for them within Santa Rosa, and we would love to help you do that as well. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like, tap subscribe, and of course hit the bell to be notified when we have more information about Sonoma County and Santa Rosa released on this channel. And if you're interested to learn more, let's talk. Reach out. You can find our contact information down below in the caption, and we look forward to talking with you and helping you in your move to Sonoma County and or Santa Rosa. Thanks for watching. We hope to hear from you soon.